Sister ruined our honeymoon cruise by turning it into a nightmare of bullying and daycare, and now my family is shattered by the aftermath. I'm 37, my mom is a retired care worker for over 25 years, my sister 2 years in care field and I 11 years in care field. At any time, Cassie has to be with either my mom, sister or I, as she is not independent. This was my mom, sister and Cassie's third cruise. This was everyone else's first ever cruise. My husband and I were married this year 2024 on our 11th year. My mom has been talking for years about having her immediate family on one big family cruise on her retirement year. This year she retired. She informed my husband and I that she would pay for our portion as well as a balcony suite as a honeymoon present. She told us that though this is a family cruise, we are to treat it like a honeymoon and relax, enjoy and not to stress. Also to have lots of time to ourselves. We were both worried as it was a lot of money. Plus mixing a honeymoon with a family cruise seemed daunting. We weren't sure how to juggle everything. But my mom told us not to worry. We convinced her to allow us to pay for any extra expenses, like drinks, items bought on and off cruise. She agreed. We both thanked her profusely and showed how grateful we were throughout the trip. Unfortunately, our honeymoon/family cruise ended up being an emotional disaster. Though my husband and I had times we were happy and did our best to overcome the overwhelming stress. There was a lot of bullying and temper tantrums from my sister that were unnecessary and uncalled for, directed towards me mostly and sometimes at everyone else. Though my sister has always been high-strung and over-opinionated about most situations. She has also been one of my husband and my biggest supporters. Which we value highly. Just by being gay my husband lost his entire family for his choice. So, any love and support is something we value highly. I don't want you to get the wrong idea. We love my sister. But her treatment towards us was not okay. Before the cruise, my siblings, husband and Tim met up. The cruise topic came up and we all agreed that giving our mom one day to herself to enjoy the cruise without having to take care of Cassie would be a nice thank you to her. My mom was also paying for most of my sister's and Tim's expenses and all brothers' expenses as well. This was her choice. We talked about how either Amber and Tim or husband and me would take Cassie for the first half of the day and then we would switch. Since both my sister and I are in the care field, it only made sense to not have us together. It was a discussion. Not a set in stone plan. However, on the cruise it quickly became clear that my brother and Tim got a free pass not to look after Cassie, and the one day of taking Cassie turned into 4 days of care. Lasting between 3 to 5 hours on our downtime each time. This was never agreed upon. Never discussed, never brought up to me or my husband. The 3 occasions that Cassie was put into my care were out of nowhere. Though I accepted all 3 times as to not cause a scene and of course I wanted my mom to relax. All 3 times my sister and mom would go to the spa to spend time together. The 4th time my husband and I looked after Cassie just so my mom could enjoy around 4 hours by herself alone because she needed a break. This time it was our choice as she looked so stressed. She enjoyed the solo time alone. I love Cassie. She's family. But she's also work. She needs a lot of help to do most things. My husband did his best to help out, but I was the primary care. I was happy Cassie was happy, but the 3 times I was given the task was by Amber, not my mom. Each time my husband and I had to cancel our plans together. There were one-time events and couple activities on the cruise we wanted to experience and weren't given a choice. It was our turn to take her. And we did. No matter what I did, I always managed to do something wrong. No matter how hard I tried to follow Amber's instructions, I always missed something. She never stopped reminding me how lucky it was that mom was spending so much money on my husband and I. How grateful we should be. Each time we went to buy a special drink she would remind us it cost extra money. Each time we discussed buying pictures or merchandise, she reminded us not to abuse our mom's kindness. One day she would encourage talking to our mom about purchasing something. The next day telling me I'm being selfish and not thinking about mom. When all I did was retell what she said to me the previous day. On many occasions during dinner in the crowded dining hall, she would either slow her speech to talk to me like a child, or try and teach me how to do things properly so I don't screw up next time. There was even a time she handed signature photo album book for our waitstaff to sign for Cassie. I was very overwhelmed and had an anxiety attack and kind of blanked. Amber was yelling instructions at me where she could have easily done what she wanted herself. Then after continued to berate me in front of over 40 people. I was utterly humiliated. She said she couldn't fathom how I couldn't understand the simplest of instructions. I have never in all my life been so torn down by her. She treated me so poorly. I was up most nights sick. I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. I wanted to enjoy myself but felt like I was in a nightmare. My husband was furious. I asked my mom if she knew what was going on. She said yes but wouldn't tell us. I said I'd go talk to Amber. My mom begged me not to, that Amber would come tell me what was going on her own. Well, she never did. With each passing day, she got more and more unbearable to be around. She got meaner and meaner. Even publicly accusing me of forcing our mom to do our laundry. When I was just asking how the machine worked. Out of the 7-day cruise, my husband and I only got 8 hours together alone to enjoy our honeymoon. Everything else was either spent with someone with the family, mostly catering to Cassie or Amber, going on group excursions which most were fun. And wondering the ship with family again. I love my family. But I will never ever travel with my sister again. I've never ever treated her the way she treated me. I honestly felt like she hated me. After the cruise I sent her a letter explaining how hurt I was. How I felt like her own personal golfer and punching bag. How I felt so disrespected and used. She in turn wrote me a novel explaining her finances, my mother finances, and listing the many reasons why she was acting the way she was acting to try and excuse her behavior towards me. She then wrote an apology, or at least my mom who read the letter said it was a good apology and to drop the situation and move on. This is a copy-paste from her apology. I'm not trying to pretend I'm some saint here. I should have realized how frustrated I was getting and asked you guys why you were making things so hard, and instead I assumed that you were being difficult for no reason and let my frustration build until my fuse turned into a switch. I lost my cool a lot, and I know how I get when that happens. It's not nice, at all, and I am genuinely sorry for that. Again, I love my sister. I love my family. But the reactions have been terrible. My mom has pretty much sided with my sister. Radio silent to my husband. They used to talk every day. Saying I crushed Amber by calling her out. If it was my intention to hurt Amber, I succeeded. Even though she told me she agreed Amber was in the wrong. I should have just let it go. That she doesn't want to die knowing I broke the family. My brother wants nothing to do with it and has dropped communication except one conversation, also taking her side. Saying her silence was better than me raising a stink. Saying he would hate to have his health fail and have him die knowing the family was in shambles. Her partner Tim, silence. Amber completely silence after issuing me an ultimatum unless I can prove to her that I'm not a selfish, ungrateful, gaslighting, liar. Then she's done with our relationship. Preferred outcome, to have my family back. Realistic outcome, maybe I can get them to agree to family counseling to repair what little is left of our relationship. But in all honesty, it looks pretty grim. I don't want to sound dramatic. But my heart literally hurts every day. I wanted to give my husband an actual family that would love him for him. I felt with all my heart it would be my family. But they all proved that's not going to happen. Dropping it and forgiving her mistreatment would only result in me resenting my family. I don't want to lose them but feel so abused by them. I'm lost. I don't know what to do. So, Ada for asking my sister for a proper apology. Or is it even worth it at this point? I honestly would take any advice because both my husband and I are at a total loss. Cassie isn't actually related to my family, but she came into my mom's care about 11 years ago, when I was still living with my parents. Back then, she was having daily seizures. The only reason we could take her in was that both Cassie and I were caseworkers. I'd take care of her at night when she had seizures, and my mom would care for her during the day. Amber hasn't lived with us since she turned 18, so she hasn't had to deal with the kind of care Cassie needs the way my mom and I have. She's more of a casual visitor, coming in to spend time with the family and then going back home. She's never had Cassie in her care for extended periods, just short outings. If she visits my mom, she'll help out by staying with Cassie while my mom runs errands, or distract her if mom's feeling overwhelmed. But it's not just Amber who does this, everyone pitches in when they visit. My mom's getting older and is exhausted, and she's made it clear that she's not sure how much longer she can care for Cassie. Amber thinks Cassie can do no wrong, but the reality is that Cassie can be very self-absorbed and unaware of how her actions affect those around her. She can be difficult to approach because if you tell her how you feel, she won't fully understand, so you have to be gentle. But, heaven forbid you voice any frustration in front of Amber. As for the future, when my mom either passes away or can no longer care for Cassie, the plan is for Cassie to go back into the system and be placed with another family. Amber likes to think she could take on Cassie, but she's completely wrong. Cassie requires way too much care. Amber's partner is already dealing with an illness that drains his energy, and Cassie needs constant attention. Her seizures have almost stopped, but she still falls easily and could hurt herself. My husband and I have talked about it, and we both agree that we won't be taking on Cassie. It wouldn't be fair for me to ask him to do that. I could, of course, become a full-time in-home caretaker, but that's a huge commitment. My husband isn't a caretaker. He loves Cassie, but asking him to co-care for her would be too much. As for my brother, there's no chance he's going to take on Cassie. If Cassie has to go back into the system, things are going to be really hard. Since we're not considered immediate family, even though she's lived with my mom for over a decade, we won't be allowed to visit her. Maybe my mom will still be allowed, since she lived with Cassie, but the chances of us being able to stay involved in her life are slim. Whenever I bring it up with my mom, especially with Amber, it's a conversation that goes nowhere, and we tend to avoid it. Update 1. After the cruise, I actually wrote Amber a letter explaining everything. How much time I spent with Cassie, how often, how long, and how I was made to feel. Unfortunately, all I got in return was a huge letter from her, making excuses for her actions because of her finances, our mom's finances, and her confusion over why I couldn't understand the simplest instructions. She went back and forth, saying she didn't realize the cruise was a honeymoon for us, then admitting that she knew it was. She definitely knew. She and my husband had spoken on the phone about the honeymoon cruise plans multiple times. But once we were on the cruise, it was like all of that was forgotten. As for showing anyone this post, I honestly don't think it would help. My mom came to me with information from Amber about what I had written to her. It was so twisted that I forwarded the email thread to my mom so she could see for herself. Mom said that Amber apologized and that I should just accept it, but the so-called apology Amber gave me isn't really an apology, and I'm confused as to why my mom insists that's the end of it. We were all using the WhatsApp app to track who had Cassie and for how long. When it came to solo time with Cassie, it was usually me or my mom taking care of her. Most of the cruise was spent with my husband, me, my mom, and Cassie, which was fine to some degree because we were treated well. But Amber was the only one who seemed to have an issue. Everyone else just wanted to relax and enjoy the trip. Your mom sounds like she's trying to avoid conflict, but it's really disappointing that she's not standing up and stating the facts. Mom paid for X, and you paid for Y and Z. Amber shouldn't have any excuse to be upset about money. Does your mom tend to give in to Amber when she gets like this? That would explain a lot. I hope whatever happens, you and your husband have many happy years ahead. I hadn't thought about it this way, but reading your comment made me realize something. While we were on the cruise, I didn't think there was any confusion. My family knew the room was a part of our honeymoon gift. It was a 2-room purchase, connecting rooms, so that my husband and I had one side, and my mom and Cassie had the other with a shared balcony. After reading your comment, I went back to Amber's letter, and I found this part. I changed the names to the ones I've used here. If I'd known you'd be so resentful about helping mom with the Cassie-related emergencies that came up, or that you'd think asking for an hour a day to let mom have a break was abusive, or if I'd known you were only seeing the trip as your honeymoon and not the family vacation mom had planned and paid for, I would have insisted mom put Tim and me in the connecting room and put you somewhere else on the ship so you could pretend the rest of us didn't exist until there was something fun you wanted to do with us. I wouldn't have gotten that expensive spa pass for myself, money I only spent because I thought it would help mom, and I would have made sure brother dragged mom up there alone and kept her there for at least an hour while I entertained Cassie. The context here is that my mom had several long breaks during the cruise when Cassie wasn't with her. 3 separate times, Amber took her to the spa for 3 to 5 hours each time. On one occasion, Cassie was with mom for about 4 hours alone. It wasn't every day like Amber would have liked, but I think it was a decent amount of time, especially since my husband and I were on our honeymoon, which Amber knew about before we went on the cruise. My husband and I never saw the trip as a solo honeymoon. We were happy to be with family. The only person we had an issue with was Amber, who kept finding problems with us. By the end of the cruise, we were avoiding her because she was becoming unbearable. Everyone else was fine. Some of the emergencies Amber brought up were minor in my eyes but seemed bigger to her because of her few years of caregiving experience. Cassie has OCD, which is part of her condition. She fixates on certain things and must have things just right. Since she's semi-verbal, it's hard for her to express what she wants. The more anxious she gets, the harder it is for her to communicate. Some of the emergencies were, she wanted regular size toothpaste, not the travel size. She wanted to buy a new watch for her collection. She broke the new watch and wanted it repaired. This took about a day, and Cassie was really stressed the whole time. After the watch was fixed, she wanted a red watch she had seen, but Cassie didn't get that one because it was outside her budget. Amber tried to teach me how to get Cassie to like me by buying her presents, thinking that would make her more comfortable. In caregiving, we call that bribery, and it's a method that can lead to negative behavior, so I refuse to do it. I disagree with that approach. Also, Cassie is very dependent on my mom. They're close in age, but Cassie calls her mommy, which my mom allows because Cassie is mentally young. If you're not around her regularly, Cassie gets more uncomfortable with you over time. It takes a lot for her to feel comfortable with anyone besides mom. Maybe Amber's having her own struggles with something personal right now. I considered whether she might be dealing with relationship issues or a health problem, but when I asked my mom about it, she denied it. I didn't see much of Amber and Tim on the cruise. When I did bump into Tim, he was usually alone, exploring the cruise. Amber, on the other hand, seemed constantly stressed, agitated, or panicked. Tim, meanwhile, seemed calm and happy, but he also avoided being around me, often making excuses to leave when I was around. The thing is, it was never expected for Amber to take care of Cassie. She chose to do it, chose to help my mom. We all wanted my mom to have a break, but Amber's intensity and how she thought everyone should participate was overwhelming. It was mostly directed at me. I never saw Tim or my brother help out. Update 2. Right off the cruise, after I sent my sister Amber the letter explaining how she hurt me on my honeymoon, my mom was working on my husband and I to let a family friend do our taxes. We have been going to a company for years, but she was extremely convincing. Saying her friend had 15 years accounting experience, her friend also said this. We accepted as she asked us to trust her. And that trust bit us in the ass hard. This was back in August of 2024. Next thing we know, the family friend screwed up on our taxes so bad we are now owing a large sum of money back to the government, double digits. We found this out unexpectedly in December 2024. And our world was immediately flipped upside down. But in a way, I guess as bad as our financial situation is, it's come with a lot of clarity. My mom refused to help in any way. Not even offering to help us find resources or solutions, telling me that it was our fault for not doing our taxes in the first place. It was hard not to blame her for getting us to trust her friend. My husband and I are adults, and we made the choice to put our trust in her. We own that choice. Still sucks though. Nobody sending happy birthdays on my birthday and or happy holidays for Christmas. Which was something never forgotten, but this year was missed. Because of this, on top of everything else, my husband and I decided to go no contact and did so with all family members, Amber, Tim, Amber's partner, mom and brother. As space we felt was for the best. We didn't know how long, but we knew for our health it was best. Suddenly on our social media accounts a poster left comments exposing our financial situation. It was so accurate that we knew who it came from, as the only people who knew were my husband and I, my mom and her friend who did our taxes. I sent screenshots to my mom asking if she knew anything about it. She denied having any involvement. We blocked the accounts, and within an hour, Tim reached out through Facebook. I forgot to block him, and he said that nobody knew he was sending me this message and he was checking up on me and that he and the family didn't know how to act on how my husband and I were acting. Right away we looked at the posts, the account that we blocked, and put two and two together. The account that posted the private financial information was Tim. I again reached out to my mom, but this time by phone. Said for her to tell me the truth about the post. She began to cry and said that she told Amber all our financial information because she just needed to talk to someone about it. I informed her that she broke both my husband and my trust by doing so. She blatantly lied to me when I asked the first time. We asked her not to tell anyone, and she told my sister, who she knew we were going through problems. We had also discovered that my mom also told her best friend and Amber all of my and my husband's private medical information. Which shortly after, Amber created another account and began to slander us online with this information. Going across all our media sites we use and doing the same thing. This was shocking, as my mom never, ever divulged financial or medical information to me about my siblings when I've asked in the past. Always saying it was not her business, and if I was curious, I had to ask them. So why was I and my husband not given the same respect? We were then dealing with this for over 2 weeks. Reporting and blocking accounts. It was so incredibly horrible. Again, I sent screenshots to my mom to show her how the information she gave was now being used against us. Publicly. Proving it was Amber and Tim, and yet she stood by them. Over time, through the slander, my mom and brother, we learned that my mom, Amber, Tim and brother had been constantly talking about my husband and I way before the wedding. Amber and my mom especially, and not in a positive way. We also found out through my sister's slander the true feelings towards my husband. They hate him. Which broke both our hearts. He's too gay. He's a drug abuser, clean 9 years, lazy, dirty, etc. awful things. The family has made it known that they find me unstable, brainwashed and stupid. And that my husband is a terrible manipulator who's pulling the strings. My mom then began to send pictures of Cassie to my phone, as I had her blocked on all other media. I asked her to stop, as it was a form of guilt tripping and avoidance in regard to her actions. She got very mad at me, trying to guilt me. So, I blocked her phone number, which was the last form of contact we had. Now my whole immediate family is fully blocked, and I feel sick to my stomach. We only got married last July and I feel like my inner family literally died. It crushes me almost daily. I'm doing my best to get by, but my sleep and appetite are heavily affected. I have already been getting mental health help, which has been good. That's a big reason why I blocked them, and I'm writing this update as it's been recommended to just put it out into the world. I honestly don't know what to do, if it's even possible to have them in my life again. Nasty words were exchanged on both sides. My husband was so attacked by them all that honestly he's emotionally done. I don't blame him. I cannot ask him to allow them back into his life. They were awful to him. Which means that making things right feels impossible. We do have a good support group of family and friend we made, though not connected by blood. Which we are both blessed and grateful. This does make it a bit better, as we have people to fall back on. Thankfully. I have no other updates. Hopefully they can leave us alone. Hopefully we can live in peace, and I can learn to get over losing that part of my life. All of the THT family advice and words have been so eye-opening, and both my husband and I thank you for putting what was wrong to light. You were all right. I'm just so sad that it was all true. I'll keep you posted if anything else happens. But hopefully it doesn't. Mom's friend messed up, and when we inquired she made sure and said to enjoy our money. So we went and paid of all our bills and wedding act. In December we found out we owed and went into debt consolidation to help us pay off things, as we were en route to bankruptcy. We don't really want to go too much into detail, as this could get legal. But we do have a lot of documents to show Mom's friend believes she knew what she was doing. We don't believe she did it on purpose but made a mistake. She's now retired, so doesn't work for a company. We are still working on the financial side of things. So at the moment we must focus on stabilizing our situation before we can move forward, if that is even an option, or the payment plan for us will take approximately 5 to 6 years due to the large sum of money we spent, with the understanding it was our money to spend. Everyone, even the financial help we received, are shocked the CRA did not catch the mistake right away on their end. But when they did, we only got the email in December. However, the interest was built up from when the mistake was made. In Canada the CRA can be quite brutal. We were late on our taxes because we got married in July, and in the chaos of the wedding, we completely forgot about them. In Canada, taxes are usually done in March or April, but we missed that deadline. We went away for a week at the start of August, and when we got back, my mom convinced us to file our taxes through her friend, who would do it for free. She was worried we'd get charged extra fees by the company we normally use, especially since we were so late. Her friend promised to handle everything quickly and efficiently. We didn't question how fast she completed everything because neither of us really deal with the paperwork and we've always paid someone to do it for us. The amount of money we were told we'd receive was significant, and we were assured everything was done correctly, so we didn't think twice about spending it. But it turned out, the money wasn't actually ours to spend. We'd made a mistake, and now we have to pay it all back, including the interest. The most we would have owed, due to late fees, was around $200 to $300, but after an expensive wedding and cruise, we thought free help was the better option. At the time, we were both pretty broke, so it seemed like the right call. I never mentioned anything about credit cards. I just explained how this mistake destroyed our high credit score. We had worked hard for years to get it above 700, and now, because we spent money that wasn't ours, our credit has taken a major hit. It's been a real struggle, especially since we were careful not to go bankrupt, but this mess is still causing problems. We're not sure why the CRA didn't catch the error, because they're usually really good about spotting mistakes like this. I guess it slipped through the cracks and wasn't noticed until around December. We received the email about it in December, even though the taxes and money were processed in August. I'd go into more detail, but we've been advised not to. Explaining the full process and numbers would make it clearer, but I hope this gives you a better idea of what happened. Update 3. Alright, buckle up because this update has been a roller coaster like no other. I honestly didn't know things could get this crazy. When I thought the financial disaster was the worst of it, I learned the universe was about to test my patience and sanity in ways I couldn't even imagine. So, after the mess with the taxes, my world already feeling like it was collapsing, we thought, okay, we just need time and space. We'd been doing everything we could to stabilize, focus on healing, and trying to find a way out of this insane hole we'd fallen into. But then, something truly mind-blowing happened. We got a phone call from a random lawyer. They said they had confidential documents related to my family's actions. To say I was confused would be an understatement. How could anyone have legal papers about me, my husband, and my family's drama? But of course, I was curious, and to my shock, the lawyer said there was an active investigation into the financial mess that had happened. Long story short, it turns out someone, my guess, Amber and possibly my mom, had reported us to the CRA and accused us of tax fraud. Yup, you heard that right. They told the government that we had intentionally filed false taxes and were trying to dodge paying. The CRA, of course, didn't take long to dig in, and that's when this lawyer got involved. At first, I didn't even know what to say. I mean, they already knew our financial situation had gone south due to a mistake made by my mom's family friend. But to be accused of fraud? That hit a whole new level of betrayal and pain. The lawyer, understanding the misunderstanding, explained that my family's tip-off didn't hold up, there were no signs of intentional fraud. But still, we had to go through this entire process to clear our names. Imagine living in the kind of emotional chaos where you feel like you have no control over your own life anymore. It gets even wilder. While I was going through the paperwork with this lawyer, who was super helpful, by the way, I started receiving bizarre messages. At first, they seemed like a joke, mean-spirited memes and passive-aggressive comments about my reputation and family values. But it was the fact that the messages came from multiple accounts, all traced back to Amber and her friends. They had created dozens of fake profiles to harass and slander me online. It was disgusting to watch, and honestly, it just broke me. My own family, whom I trusted and loved, had turned into this toxic nightmare. Then the craziest thing happened. I got a call from Amber. I know, right? The same person who had been spreading rumors about me for months, the one who had been involved in destroying my privacy, now calls me? She was crying, begging me to listen. She said she didn't know why things had gotten out of hand and how she regretted everything, even admitting that it was her who had contacted the lawyer. She said the whole thing was a way for her to feel in control and gain leverage over my mom. But the truth was, it was a personal vendetta against my husband, and somehow, she thought her actions were justified. I just couldn't believe it. In an incredibly bizarre moment of clarity, I realized that Amber had completely lost touch with reality. She thought what she was doing was somehow right. I couldn't even get angry anymore, it was just pure sadness and a deep, aching disappointment. But my husband? He was done. Absolutely done with any hope for reconciliation. He didn't even want to speak to her. So we made the decision, we finally told her to stop. We put our foot down and said we wouldn't let her back into our lives until there was major change, accountability, and more healing. It's been radio silence since then. Complete silence. But here's the twist, we got an unexpected blessing right after all this chaos. A group of friends we had met during our honeymoon cruise, remember, the one Amber was so bent on ruining, reached out to us. They saw what had been going on and offered help. They connected us with some incredible resources and even gave us financial advice. I mean, real professional advice, how to regain our credit, negotiate with the CRA, and get back on track financially. I was blown away by their kindness and willingness to help us even though we had nothing to offer. And just like that, there was a glimmer of hope. For the first time in months, I felt like we weren't totally alone. But, I'll be honest, this whole journey has shaken me to my core. The one thing I know for sure is that my family, my real family, is the one we've built with our friends, our chosen support system. It's going to take a long time to heal from the wounds they've inflicted on us, but we're fighting to rebuild. And you know what? We're going to be okay. I can't promise when or if things will get better with my mom and Amber, but I'm starting to realize that sometimes, in life, you have to let go of things that hurt you, even if you don't understand why it happened. Life goes on.